Shocking. Black CO exposes bank manager at 3 a.m. You won't believe what happens next. The clock struck 3, the witching hour. It was then that chaos broke loose in the quiet streets of downtown. A black SUV, glossy and ominous, screeched to a halt in front of the old bank. Heavy sirens echoed in the silence, piercing the night like a knife. Lights flashed. Shadows danced. This wasn't just any routine stop. Something colossal was about to erupt. Inside the vehicle was Marcus Johnson, a CEO known for his sharp intellect and sharper tongue. But tonight he was armed with something far more dangerous, a truth that could crumble empires. The bank's towering facade loomed behind him, its heavy doors a barrier to secrets buried deep within cobalt brick walls. Word was, the manager had been skimming, creating a parallel universe of deception. As Marcus stepped out, his hands trembled, not from fear, but from rage and anticipation. Voices crackled in the distance. A mix of curious onlookers and their whispers of disbelief swirled around like smoke. Is that him? No way, he'll actually confront him. Murmurs buzzed like a swarm of bees, electrifying the atmosphere. Each heartbeat echoed in Marcus's chest as he approached the entrance. The air felt thick, almost suffocating. He knew what was inside: money laundering schemes, backdoor deals, and he was determined to expose them. A faint light behind the tinted glass beckoned him. As he reached for the door, the chilling thought struck him. Was he ready for the fallout? An unsettling silence fell as he pushed the door open. The sharp creak snapped the pause. The lobby was eerily empty. Yet something felt wrong. A man in a crisp suit, the bank manager, stood there watching. His eyes were filled with a mixture of surprise and something darker. What are you doing here at this hour? He asked, voice smooth, almost snake-like, but underneath it was a tremor, a hint of fear. Let us talk, Marcus replied, his heart racing. Voices outside faded, and the world felt distant. The tension was tangible, thickening like fog. Every second stretched, and the gravity of the moment sunk in. He had the evidence hidden in his briefcase. The power to change everything rested in his hands. But what would the cost be? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The manager smirked, a cold glint in his eye. You think you can just walk in here, threaten me? You have no idea what you're messing with. Marcus felt a lump in his throat, the weight of his discovery clawing at him. For a moment uncertainty crept in, but then the memories flooded back, the faces of the victims of deceit, their lives wrecked to feed the greed of few. There was no turning back now. With a swift motion, Marcus opened the briefcase, revealing documents that could take down the entire operation. The manager's confidence shattered. His face went pale. You can't, he stammered, backing towards the shadows. The gravity of the room shifted, pressing heavy against their breathing. You have no idea what you've just unleashed. The silence screamed in Marcus's ears. What had he inadvertently stumbled upon? In that moment, an explosion of thoughts raced through his mind. Would he walk away as the hero? Or would this choice drag him into the abyss? As tension spiraled higher, the faint sounds of sirens grew louder outside. Every second felt like an eternity. What would happen now? The bank manager darted backward, anxiety written all over his face. You don't understand the forces at play here, Marcus, he hissed, the earlier bravado now gone. The slick veneer of confidence cracked, revealing a layer of fear. Marcus felt his own pulse quicken. He stepped forward, the briefcase clenched tightly in his hand. I might not understand everything yet, but I understand enough to know what you've been doing. You thought you were untouchable. There was a fire in his voice, fueled by the injustice of it all. Outside, the crowd had grown. People whispered amongst themselves, exchanging speculative glances as the sirens continued to wail. Each blast seemed to heighten the tension in the lobby, a strange cacophony that mirrored the chaos welling within Marcus. He used that energy to press on. Tonight ends the lies, he said, determination hardening his resolve. you've taken from people who worked their entire lives to trust this place. With a trembling hand, the bank manager fumbled for his phone, retreating further into the shadows. You're making a huge mistake. I can make this go away, he shouted, as he desperately tried to dial for help. He barely had time to punch in the numbers before Marcus lunged forward. Don't! Marcus felt the adrenaline surge through him, seizing the manager's wrist. He wrested the phone from his grasp and cast it aside, where it clattered uselessly against the floor. The echoes of its fall blended into the building tension like a drum roll building up to a catastrophe. The manager's eyes flared with anger, morphing into something almost primal. You think you're the hero? You're a fool, Marcus. The raised voice was raw, full of menace as he lunged forward, attempting to ascertain his ground. Now they were on equal footing, two men facing off in the dim light of the lobby. Marcus edged backward, cautious but unyielding. He felt the weight of the evidence still locked away in his briefcase. One wrong move and this could spiral into something far more dangerous. The lurking shadows of the bank hardly felt safe anymore. The sirens had become deafening, drowning out individual voices outside. Yet, the outside world seemed to fade as the confrontation inside intensified. You think someone will save you? Think again. The manager spat, venomous. In that moment, Marcus sensed it not just the manager's fear, but the growing threat hovering around them. An uneasy awareness crept in, prickling up his spine. There's no way out for you now, Marcus shot back, fighting to keep his voice steady. Just then the back door opened and a figure emerged, silhouetted by the streetlights, tall, imposing, a shadow with a purpose. The unexpected arrival brought an unsettling shift in energy, and both men turned toward this new development. Bile rose in Marcus's throat. Who was this? Had the manager set a trap? He felt a wave of panic wash over him. Marcus! The figure called out, their voice slicing through the tension like a blade. We need to leave now. Panic twisted inside him as he recognized the urgency in the voice. It was his closest ally, Laura, and she looked more terrified than he had ever seen her. But was escape even possible now? The true battle for truth and survival was just beginning. Marcus glanced at the bank manager's complacent smirk. What had he unleashed? Lifted back into the light of danger, he took a step forward, fueled by a rush of instinct. What did this all mean? The ground beneath him felt volatile, each decision carrying weight that could tip the scale into mayhem as sirens cast flashing lights across the slanted walls of the bank. He had to consider his next move carefully. Would he risk everything for justice, or would he succumb to the threatening pressure closing in around him? He hardened his resolve. This was far from over. With uncertainty laced through his heart, Marcus shouted, Laura, what is happening? But her next words sent a jolt through his core. They know. The realization loomed like a shadow. They had underestimated the threat of exposure. And now something far more sinister was hunting them both. Could they outmaneuver the darkness that was closing in? Or was it simply a matter of time before the truth came crashing down around them? Marcus's heart raced as he absorbed Laura's chilling words. They know. In that instant, the weight of the world felt like it was pressing down on him. Time warped, stretching seconds into agonizing eternity. Who knows? His voice was barely a whisper, raw panic creeping under his skin as he scanned their surroundings. He couldn't shake the feeling that invisible eyes were watching them, waiting for just the right moment to strike. Laura stepped closer, urgency etching lines on her brow. The board members, those involved in the dealings. They're on their way. On their way. Breathless, Marcus felt a prickling chill race up his spine. He knew their names, powerful, wealthy individuals, each tied deeper into the web of deceit than he had originally thought. And now they were coming here. The bank manager, having regained his confidence in the shadows, chuckled darkly. You're in over your heads. You think you can just walk out of here with those files? They won't let you leave. Marcus tightened his grip on the briefcase, a sense of protection spreading from it. Inside lay the heart of his fight, the evidence he had risked everything for. He took a deep breath, steeling himself. I'm not leaving without exposing your corruption. Laura's eyes darted around, panic mixed with determination. We can take the emergency exit. It leads to the alley. Good thinking, he replied, their moment of unity grounding him even as the stakes soared. But we 1T just be running. Staring into Laura's wide eyes, he saw her conviction flicker. They needed a plan. We'll make sure the authorities are notified. We can't let them silence us. This is bigger than both of us, Marcus. Her voice trembled, but there was fire in her resolve. If they're coming for you, they 1T stop at anything. The manager's smirk grew wider, an eerie confidence radiating from him. You're out of luck. You think the cops will believe you over a bank with this much power? You have no idea the extent of their reach. Watch me prove you wrong, Marcus shot back, adrenaline coursing through his veins. They had to escape the lobby, but that was only part of it. The next step was even clearer in his mind. Laura, keep an eye on him. If he makes a move, let me know. As he looked back at her, a flicker of doubt whirled in his gut. Would they truly make it out? Each second was slipping away like sand through fingers. The sound of approaching footsteps echoed, heavy and determined. The serene quiet outside had morphed into a cacophony of chaos. He could see shadows creeping toward the entrance, silhouettes of heavy-set men in suits, eyes narrowed with intent. They were coming for him. Now, he signaled to Laura, leading her toward the emergency exit. But something cold and sharp twisted in his gut. Did he really trust the bank manager's words? Or did he even have a plan? As they reached the door, the bank manager lunged for a panic button behind the desk. Run! Marcus shouted, shoving Laura ahead, panic and urgency woven into every fiber of his being. Behind them, the piercing alarm screamed to life, reverberating through the walls like a death knell. Adrenaline surged as the door swung open, guiding them into the night. But the alley was darker than expected. Wait. Laura grabbed his arm, her grip ironclad. We need to be careful. This isn't over. The sirens only grew louder, the urban night pulsing with chaos, and that feeling of being hunted flared up in Marcus again. He took a moment to catch his breath. Could he really make a difference? That way. He pointed down the alley, where a glimmer of hope broke through the shadows. A parked car. It was their lifeline. But just as they turned, a figure emerged from the darkness, hooded and silent, with a menacing presence that sent shivers down Marcus's spine. Not so fast. The figure hissed, voice cold and foreboding. In the depths of approaching chaos, Marcus felt the question rise sharply in his mind. Had they just walked into a trap far worse than they imagined? And could they escape what awaited ahead in the cruel night? The figure stepped closer, the dim light illuminating features hidden behind the hood. An unsettling calm settled around them, making Marcus's heart pound louder in his chest. An overwhelming wave of dread washed over him. This was no average pursuer. There was something purposeful in their presence, a predatory grace that screamed danger. Who are you? Laura's voice trembled, but there was an edge of defiance threading through her fear. Someone who has been waiting for you, the figure replied, low and smooth. It felt like a threat coiled around every word. Marcus's instincts kicked in. He felt the chill of danger suffocating him as the man took another step forward. Listen, we don't want any trouble, he tried, but it came out weaker than he intended. His mind raced through potential escape routes. You're already in trouble, the figure shot back, tilting their head in a way that made Marcus's skin crawl. You think you can expose the bank's secrets and simply walk away? A chill pierced Marcus's resolve, each syllable of the mysterious figure's words hitting him like a lead weight. The pressure seemed to climb. No matter how he tried to maintain composure, the shadows around them felt alive, swirling with unseen threats. Laura shoved Marcus aside, stepping closer to the figure. What do you want? Just let us go. We didn't do anything to you. The figure's laughter sliced through the tension like a sharp knife. What you did was foolish. Those files you're clutching? They're your death sentence. Marcus felt the sweat trickle down his back. This wasn't just a showdown, it was a reckoning. We have to keep moving, he urged Laura, eyes shifting toward a narrow exit at the far end of the alley. But the figure blocked their path, almost ghost-like in its stillness. Unless you want to stay here and play games, you might want to reconsider, the figure taunted. Games? He echoed, anger igniting within him. This isn't a game. It's our lives. The figure's expression couldn't be read, but there was a flicker of amusement as if Marcus sounded pitifully naive. You don't understand the rules at play here, do you? They 1T stop until you are silenced. I can help you or I can make you disappear. Your choice. The idea of surrendering to a stranger made Marcus's stomach turn. He swallowed hard. What's your angle? Let us just say I have my own reasons for wanting the bank's corruption exposed. Laura turned to Marcus, her eyes ablaze with determination. We can't trust this person. We need to get to the police and show them the files. But before Marcus could respond, the echo of heavy footsteps grew louder, reverberating through the alley. Marcus's blood ran cold. They had company, someone he recognized. Marcus! A voice cried out. It was Adam, his old friend and an officer. The sound of their presence seemed both a relief and a curse, the haunting shadow of the figure still looming between them. Adam skidded to a halt, his eyes wide and questioning. What the hell is going on? Get away from him. Stay back. The cloaked figure warned, raising their hand in warning. Chaos erupted. Marcus's heart pounded fiercely as Adam pulled out his weapon, ready to confront the threat before him. The figure didn't flinch, but the air crackled with impending violence. You don't want to interfere, officer, came the cold whisper, dripping with authority. Breathless, Marcus felt the stakes rise with every heartbeat. Would Adam stand down? Would they take the risk of revealing everything? And just then the sirens blared closer, bringing both hope and dread. In that crucial moment, Marcus felt time freeze around him. Choices needed to be made: trust the stranger or stand by Adam, exposing everything to a system that could very well be part of the conspiracy. Either way, the figure smirked. You'll have to choose wisely, because time is running out. With that singular moment weighing heavy on his shoulders, Marcus's next decision was critical. Would it lead him to freedom or into a deeper trap? And as the shadows of the alley weighed down with uncertainty, he knew he had to decide before it was too late. The heavy footsteps echoed off the brick walls like the pound of a drum, urgent and relentless. Fear gripped Marcus as he glanced between Adam and the cloaked figure. The tension in the air was suffocating, each breath a struggle against the impending storm. Marcus, get away from that, Adam began, but the figure cut him off, their voice sharp and commanding. You think you're safe, officer? The figure scoffed. You have no idea how deep this goes. You're just as expendable as they are. Adam lowered his weapon slightly, uncertainty flickering across his face. Step back. We don't need to escalate this, he warned, trying to regain control. His gaze darted between Marcus and Laura, each moment colder than the last. I can help you, the figure exclaimed, gesturing toward the files. That's why I'm here. But it won't be pretty. Are you prepared for the truth? Truth? Marcus thought, his heart racing. What did that even mean in this twisted game? Behind the figure was darkness, a void of uncertainty that gnawed at his stomach. He wasn't sure if he was ready for whatever revelations lay ahead, but he felt the urgency clawing at him. The sirens were getting close, and the moment for action was dwindling. Marcus! Adam shouted, snapping him from his thoughts. We need to go now. But Laura stepped forward again, her eyes fierce. No, we can't just run. If this person can help us expose what's really going on, we have to listen. We can't trust the police to do anything. We know that. Adam's frustration brimmed over. They're closing in. We have to leave now. And as if on cue, the shadows in the alley shifted, a hint of movement drawing Marcus's attention. The sound of footsteps multiplied, the scrape of shoes against asphalt blending with the sirens like a haunting score to their entrapment. The cloaked figure stepped closer, a predatory glint in their eye. Time to choose, Marcus, they said, the words slow and deliberate. Will you gamble on the system or take the risk with me? Choose wisely. You don't have long. Marcus felt the pressure build, a rush of adrenaline forcing him to react. His mind shot through the possibilities. Adam, the friend who should be their ally, had a gun drawn but was also torn. Could he trust the figure? Then a piercing clash of metal against metal echoed down the alley, and a chill ran through him. The squad cars were right around the corner. Marcus, please. Laura pleaded, her voice trembling with equal parts fear and desperation. What if this is our only chance? Before he could respond, the figure leaned closer, dropping their voice. And if you're wrong, the consequences will be your lives. The stress was unbearable, pressing down like a boulder on his chest. Just then, glints of flashlights pierced the darkness, the police closing in. Get down! Adam shouted, adrenaline taking over as he dropped into a crouch. Instinct took over, and without really thinking, Marcus made a split-second decision. In that moment, he reached for the cloaked figure, desperation fueling his movements. "I'm in," he said, voice barely above a whisper but resolute. "What's the plan?" The smirk on the figure's face widened, a mix of approval and mischief. "Welcome to the game, Marcus. Now let us unravel the truth before it consumes you." As the police flooded the alley, chaos erupted anew. The sirens blared behind them, but it was the looming threat of the unknown that felt more menacing. Marcus tightened his grip on the files, heart racing, knowing this was only the beginning. The figure moved swiftly, alternative paths unfolding with every calculated step. He had to trust them now. There was no turning back. Whatever happens next, he thought, adrenaline coursing through him, it's a risk I have to take. But as darkness enveloped them, one burning question remained. Would they emerge from this alive, or be swallowed whole by the very shadows they intended to expose? The chaos surged like a storm as they darted down the dimly lit alleyway, the cold air heavy with anticipation. Marcus's heart pounded in tandem with the echoing footsteps behind them, the police pursuit becoming less a distant threat and more an immediate reality. "Move!" the cloaked figure hissed, their grip on Marcus's arm firm yet oddly reassuring. Each step felt like a gamble, the stakes higher than ever. What they were running from was as unclear as what they were racing toward. Yet the urgency kept him going. "Where do we go?" Marcus gasped, glancing over his shoulder. Streetlights flickered like ghosts, illuminating the fear etched across Adam's face. "What's the plan?" "There's a safe house nearby," the figure snapped, their voice sharp but edged with a hint of confidence. "Once there, we can regroup and sort through the files before anyone catches up." Behind them, sirens wailed, a shrill reminder that the clock was ticking. Adam's eyes were wild, trying to hold it all together. "I can't believe we're trusting them. What if they're lying?" "Right now we have no choice," Laura interjected. Her voice was steady. "This is our best shot. We can't keep running to a dead end." As they rounded a corner, a bright flashlight beam sliced through the dark. Marcus instinctively ducked as it swept close, illuminating the brick walls in a frantic dance. Panic surged within him, but so did a glimmer of resolve. He made his choice. He could only hope he wasn't making a grave mistake. "Stick close," the figure ordered, and they pressed forward, taking a left into a narrow passage. The walls seemed to close in, swallowed by the encroaching shadows. It was a rough path, littered with debris, but that only fed the fire of urgency for Marcus. "What's in those files?" he finally asked, unable to hold back the curiosity that gnawed at him. "Everything." The figure's tone turned serious. "The conspiracy is deeper than you think. Corruption, manipulation, lives destroyed. It all leads back to the highest offices. The police, the banks, even within your circle." Each word landed like a hammer blow against Marcus's chest. The very foundation of his understanding began to tremble. Why hasn't anyone exposed this before? "Because they're scared," Laura whispered, glancing back as if expecting to see dread snatching at their heels. "And the powers that be will silence anyone who gets too close." Suddenly a shout echoed from behind, cutting through the tension like a knife. "This is the police. Stop!" Adrenaline surged through Marcus, propelling him forward. The cloaked figure suddenly veered right, leading them toward a door at the end of the alley. A steel gray door looked unwelcoming, but it was their only hope now. "Here!" the figure shouted, slamming a fist against the door. It creaked open, revealing darkness beyond. "Inside! Now!" They stumbled in, and the door shut with a forceful thud behind them. A hush fell over them, the sounds of the outside world fading into a distant roar. Panting heavily, they found themselves in a cramped, dimly lit room. "Is this it?" Adam questioned, eyes wide with disbelief. "Are we safe?" "Not for long. They'll track us." The figure's gaze darted towards the small window, where shadows moved beyond. "Now we need to figure out our next move fast." "Who do we trust?" Marcus asked, his voice trembling. A weight settled heavily in the air, an invisible noose tightening around them. "I need to show you what's in the files," the figure said, pulling out a folder from beneath their cloak, the cover embossed but unreadable in the low light. "And once you see it, there's no turning back. You'll know everything." The room echoed with silence, the reality of their situation crashing in. The files could shatter or save lives. With a heavy heart, Marcus realized that the truths hidden inside might be darker than he'd ever anticipated. What if we can't handle it? Laura whispered, her eyes reflecting a deep-seated fear. There's no going back, the cloaked figure replied, raising an eyebrow. Are you ready? As Marcus leaned forward, tension electrified the air. The figure snapped open the folder, and a flood of documents spilled out onto the table, the pages brimming with incriminating evidence. Marcus held his breath, his heart pounding louder than the sirens outside. What he might discover could ignite a storm that no one was prepared for. And as the first words sank in, a chilling realization swept over him. The truth was only the beginning. Would it save them or doom them all? The figure leaned closer, illuminating the documents that now littered the table. The musty smell of aged paper filled the cramped space, mingling with the heavy tension in the air. Marcus glanced at the first page. A photo. It was grainy but unmistakable. A well-known politician, shaking hands with a bank executive. Beneath it, a date scrawled in bold red ink just a week before their lives turned upside down. What the hell? Adam muttered, his voice barely above a whisper. It's worse than we thought, the cloaked figure replied, urgency threading through their tone. These connections run deep. This is just the tip of the iceberg. Marcus's eyes scanned the documents, adrenaline surging anew. There were lists of transactions, shadowy names, and figures that swirled like a vortex, poised to pull them all under. Why would you show us this? We could be killed for knowing. The figure's finger brushed over a particularly damning report. We can't let fear stop us. Look at these details. They're orchestrating everything. This isn't just about money. Lives are at stake. Laura leaned over, her fear morphing into determination. We need to expose them. We have to get this information out. What? We just break into a news station? Adam scoffed, disbelief etched on his face. They'd laugh at us. No, we take it to someone who'll listen. Someone who has a platform, a voice, Laura insisted, her eyes narrowing. Hold on. Marcus interjected. We have no idea how far they'll go to protect this. If they see us as a threat, we're already marked. The shadows outside loomed larger as they whispered. A chilling gust rattled the window, catching Marcus off guard. He fought the urge to peek outside. Suddenly, the reality settled hard on him. A sinking feeling wrapped around his heart, squeezing tight. Do you really think they'll let us walk away? The cloaked figure asked, locking eyes with Marcus. Once they discover that you've seen this, it's game over. You're already part of it. No backing out now. He could feel sweat trickling down his spine, pooling at the small of his back. The weight of what they'd just uncovered became unbearable. So what's the plan? We just sit here and wait for them to find us? Not wait, the figure asserted with newfound intensity. We prepare. We arm ourselves with knowledge. We build a strategy while they search. We control our narrative before they can twist it. We take the fight to them. As the figure spoke, determination ignited within Marcus. Just moments ago he was a scared kid, dragged along by the chaos. But now, in this moment, with the truth unraveling right before his eyes, he felt something shift. He wasn't just running anymore. He was ready to stand. A loud bang echoed from behind the door, making them jump. Open up. This is the police. That was fast, Laura said, fear flashing in her eyes. Hide. The cloaked figure commanded. They quickly shoved the documents into Marcus's hands. If they come in, you need to protect this. They can't have it. Not now. Anxiety spiraled as Marcus found a dark corner, cramming the folder under his jacket. Heart racing, he glanced back at the others. They were already moving with practiced haste, darting to corners, seeking cover. Remember what's at stake, the figure whispered. This is just the beginning. Stay sharp. He nodded, the weight of the papers a suffocating reminder of the gravity of their situation. As the door creaked under the pressure of heavy knocks, a cold sweat trickled down Marcus' forehead. Everything was about to change. The truth wouldn't just save them, it could send the entire system crashing down. Marcus! Now! The figure shouted as the door burst open. The world outside hung on the precipice of chaos, and as the officers' silhouettes flooded the room, Marcus felt one single terrifying question surge in his mind. Could they really survive the truth, or would it bury them under the weight of its reckoning? Time froze and he held his breath, ready to see if they could outrun the fate they had discovered. The door flew open, and the bright beams of flashlights stabbed into the dim room like daggers. Marcus' heart pounded, each beat echoing in his ears as the officers swept the room, their faces stern and unyielding. Panic surged within him. "Everyone freeze!" An officer barked, stepping inside with authority. He scanned the room, eyes narrowing as they caught on the cloaked figure, who stood rigid, a statue against the chaos. "Sir, what are you doing in here?" The officer approached, grip tightening on his flashlight like it was a weapon. "We're just talking," the figure replied, voice steady, but tension lurked beneath the surface. "Talking?" The officer sneered. "It looks more like you're hiding something." He motioned to the scattered documents on the table. "What have you got there?" Time slowed. Marcus's spine tingled, the weight of the folder pressing against his skin like a loaded gun. He knew the contents could bring down powerful people. What if they opened his jacket? "Sir, step away from the table," a second officer ordered, moving closer with a determined gait. Now, the cloaked figure shifted, trying to shield the documents with their body. "There's nothing illegal going on here. We're just discussing some." "Shut it," the first officer interrupted, stepping forward. He pointed, eyes locking onto Marcus. "Open your coat." Now. Marcus felt trapped, a deer in headlights. In a flash, fear twisted in his stomach, and he took a step back, glancing at Laura, who stood frozen, wide-eyed, as if the sheer gravity of the moment had erased every thought in her mind. "Marcus!" the figure hissed, urgency spilling from their lips. "You have to," but before they could finish, the officer lunged, shoving Marcus aside and wrenching open his jacket. Panic exploded in Marcus's chest, and for a split second, the world tunneled into nothingness, overshadowed by the weight of the truth pressed against his ribs. "Step back," the officer shouted, pulling out the documents. His features twisted as he spread them across the table, each page revealing more than just words. "What the hell is this?" he growled, eyes filled with disbelief. He glanced at his partner, who had begun flipping through the sheets, confusion morphing into shock. "Is this?" Silence enveloped them. Marcus felt the air thicken, a suffocating pressure wrapping around his throat. The officer's face transformed from skepticism to fear, realization dawning as the implications of the documents sank in. They weren't prepared for this confrontation. They never expected to unearth such explosive evidence. "Get back!" the second officer yelled, suddenly alert. They moved to block the door, hands poised to pull their weapons. Nobody leaves. Chaos erupted. Each heartbeat clawed Marcus closer to the edge of panic. "What do we do?" he whispered, eyes darting toward the figure. "Trust me," the figure replied, taking a step forward. "I can handle this." Before Marcus could protest, the figure surged forward, arms raised to defuse the situation. "Listen. There's more going on here than you know. We're trying to stop something big." "Big?" The first officer's face twisted with contempt. "Is that a threat?" "No, it's the truth." The figure's voice heightened, gaining a passionate urgency. "You have no idea how deep this goes. You're being used just like we were." The air crackled with tension. Marcus's thoughts spiraled, a kaleidoscope of fear and hope, his reality shattering before him. Would they really break free? Or was this the end? A sudden crash on the street echoed through the building, startling everyone. The officers turned, and in that brief second of distraction, adrenaline pulsed through Marcus's veins. "Now!" he shouted, instincts taking over. He pushed past the startled officers, darting toward the door, desperate to escape the crushing weight of the truth. The others joined him, forming a chaotic mass, their only thought to get out. But as they stumbled into the night, breathless and wild, Marcus realized one terrifying truth. They were running not just from the officers, but from a world that craved their silence. Somewhere in the dark, danger loomed, and the truth lingered like a haunting melody, promising both liberation and destruction. What lay ahead? Little did they know, the shadowy figures orchestrating everything were closer than they thought, and they were not going to let them go so easily. The night air was thick with tension as Marcus and his group burst into the street, chaos exploding around them. Breathless, he glanced back at the building that had been their refuge moments ago. Now a prison teeming with danger. The sound of sirens filled the air, a haunting wail that echoed their racing hearts. "Where do we go?" Laura gasped, her voice trembling as she tried to catch her breath. Fear painted her face, wide and uncertain. Anywhere but here. Marcus replied, his instincts kicking in. He felt a surge of protectiveness, pushing them down a narrow alley that veered away from the road. Dimly lit by flickering street lamps, the alley provided scant cover, but it was their best chance as they ducked behind a dumpster. Marcus's heart raced. The officers were regrouping, shouts ringing out in the distance. They were relentless, and in their minds they were right. They held the power of the badge, while he and his friends fled with the weight of the truth on their backs. "Did you see their faces?" the cloaked figure said, voice low and urgent. "They didn't expect that evidence. We were a step ahead, but we can't let our guard down." "Evidence?" Marcus looked incredulously at the figure. "Do you realize what we just did? We're accused of, I know." The figure snapped, cutting him off. "But they weren't expecting us to have the upper hand. We need to use that momentum." A siren blared closer, the red and blue lights slicing through the darkness, adding an urgency to their escape. The figure turned, scanning their surroundings as if weighing options. "There's a safe house not far from here. We can regroup and plan." "Safe house?" Laura echoed, eyebrows furrowing in disbelief. "How do we know we can trust you?" "Because if I wanted to harm you, I wouldn't have risked my safety to help get you out." The figure responded, frustration evident in their voice. "Trust me, I'm on your side, but we need to keep moving. Time isn't on our side." Marcus nodded, the gravity of the situation throbbing in his brain. He wanted to believe, to cling to even a shred of hope. They had discovered critical information that could change everything, information that a ruthless network would do anything to suppress. "Let us go then," he said, motioning for the others to follow the cloaked figure. They dashed through the labyrinth of alleys, every step echoing with both excitement and dread. Marcus's mind raced as they navigated the twists and turns. Shadows danced around them, the urban landscape blending into a blur of potential threats and possibilities. As they emerged onto a quieter street, the figure led them to a plain door, almost hidden between two unremarkable buildings. They paused before entering, catching their breath. The moment felt like a standstill, each heartbeat resonating against the background of looming danger. "All right, here it is," the figure whispered, pushing the door open. It creaked ominously, revealing a dim staircase leading down into darkness. "What kind of place is this?" Marcus questioned, hesitating at the threshold. A sense of foreboding washed over him, a gut instinct warning him that this was a gamble they might not survive. "Just trust me," the figure insisted, eyes glinting in the low light. As they stepped inside, the door slammed shut behind them with a bang that echoed ominously in the enclosed space. "What now?" Laura asked, nerves fraying as they stood in the dimly lit hallway. With a heavy heart, Marcus knew the answer. They had jumped into the unknown, but it was their only shot. As the figure began to lead them deeper into the shadows, Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. The dark corridors ahead seemed to whisper secrets, each turn a murmur of the danger that lurked just beyond their grasp, and that whispering darkness. They might find safety, or they might stumble straight into the depths of a trap designed for unwary souls like them. Only time would tell, but just as they rounded a corner, a piercing sound cut through the air, chilling them to the bone. The unmistakable click of a gun being cocked echoed behind them. "Don't move," an unfamiliar voice ordered, low and threatening. What would they do now? What twisting fate awaited them just around the corner? The cold metal of the gun gleamed in the dim light, every eye turning to the figure standing at the end of the corridor, cloaked in darkness. The voice pierced through the tension like a knife. "I said don't move." Marcus felt a tightening in his chest, the weight of fear clawing at him. The figure raised their hands slowly, eyes darting between the gunman and his friends. "We mean no harm," the cloaked figure said, voice steady yet laced with urgency. "Shut up. I don't want to hear any excuses," the gunman growled, taking a step closer, the barrel of the weapon unwaveringly aimed at them. "You shouldn't have come here." "Why?" Laura managed to whisper, glancing at Marcus, the tremor in her voice palpable. "What do you want?" The gunman chuckled darkly, a chilling sound that sent shivers down Marcus's spine. "You think you can walk in here waving papers that could expose our business and just leave? You're naive, kid. This is a mistake you'll regret." The air hung thick with tension, each heartbeat pounding in Marcus's ears. He felt the weight of the evidence pressed against his side, a lifeline of truth. It was their only chance, but only if they could make it out alive. Listen, Marcus took a deep breath, pushing through the fear clawing at him. We don't want trouble. We just want the truth to come out. There are people who need to know what is happening. The gunman laughed again, a harsh, mocking sound. Truth? You really think anyone cares about the truth? The powerful protect their own. In that moment of distraction, the cloaked figure shifted slightly, eyes narrowing as if formulating a plan. Marcus sensed their resolve gaining strength. You're wrong, the figure asserted, voice firm. The truth is a force you can't control. You think you can silence us? We're not alone in this. Enough! The gunman shouted, advancing further, the weapon menacingly close. Then, a spark ignited in Marcus. Wait, he called, his voice rising above the tension. If you pull that trigger, we all lose. You might think you hold the power, but there's a network backing us. We are just the beginning. For a heartbeat, the gunman hesitated, confusion flickering across their face. What do you mean? I mean, Marcus continued, encasing every word with determination. We have the evidence to bring the truth to light. And it won't just be us who are coming for you. People are watching and they're ready to step in if we don't. What are you saying? The gunman muttered, the promise of uncertainty creeping into their stance. In a moment that felt like entrapment, Laura stepped forward. You're not just a face on the other side of the gun. You want out of this life too. We can make that happen, but you need to trust us. The gunman's eyes flickered with indecision, confusion leaving room for fear. You're bluffing, they spat, but there was doubt creeping into their voice. Think about it, Marcus urged, urgency saturating his tone. What's your life worth? Are you willing to risk it? Or do you want to be part of something bigger? In that silence, hope blossomed faintly, their words hanging in the air like a flicker of light. The gunman's grip loosened marginally, eyes darting between Marcus and the cloaked figure. What are you suggesting? Help us. Give us a chance and we'll make sure you're not left in the crossfire when this goes down, Marcus proposed, heart racing at the possible outcomes. Join us. After what felt like an eternity suspended in tension, the gunmen lowered their weapon, breathing heavily as if decisions threatened to crush them. You're either brilliant or just incredibly reckless, they murmured. Maybe both, the cloaked figure replied, stepping forward to close the distance further. An outstretched hand offered. But this could be our way out. We can unscrew a system that's been suppressing us for far too long. The gunman's jaw tensed, muscles working as they weighed their options. Finally, with a stiff nod, the gunman lowered the weapon fully. I'll help, but we need to hurry. Fear transformed into determination as Marcus felt the heavy burden lighten slightly. Let us go then. Time is our enemy. They darted past the gunman, moving deeper into the shadows toward the back exit of the safe house. Outside, the night air still pulsed with uncertainty, but a sense of unity forged through fear now glittered like a beacon. They had seized a moment, harnessed a truth darker than imagined, creating allies in the most unexpected places. This is just the beginning, Marcus thought, his heart racing with newly ignited hope. Whether they survived the storm ahead, only time would tell. But for now they shared a singular aim to expose the darkness that had shackled countless lives, and that purpose fueled them forward, igniting a fire stronger than any fear. And as they raced into the night, the stakes were higher than ever. Marcus swore to himself that he would shine a light on the underground shadows, no matter the cost. Because at the end of the day, the truth was worth fighting for. While they sprinted into the unknown, one thing was clear. This battle was only just beginning. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel, so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this jaw-dropping finale. Instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.